My name is Captain Susan Simon, and the day my husband saluted my mother instead of me was the day my entire family unknowingly declared war on the wrong woman. For 14 years, I served in silence.
No social media.
No family updates. No photographs from deployments.
No explanations.
Not because I was ashamed, but because the work I did never officially existed. To everyone outside the Pentagon, I was just another logistics officer.
Boring.
Forgettable.
Safe.
That's exactly what they were supposed to believe. Even my husband believed it. Especially my husband. Ryan loved introducing himself before introducing me. I'm former college football. I'm a successful contractor. My wife's basically paperwork for the army. He always laughed after saying it. Everyone else laughed too, including my mother. She adored Ryan. Mostly because Ryan constantly reminded her that I wasn't the daughter she'd dreamed of. She wanted beauty pageants, country clubs, dinner, parties. Instead, she got a woman who disappeared overseas for months, without explanation. You never smile anymore. You've become cold. You don't even act like a wife. Every holiday sounded the same. Every birthday ended with another lecture. And Ryan never defended me. He nodded, smiled, agreed, then squeezed my hand underneath the table, as if that somehow made betrayal romantic. I stopped expecting loyalty years ago. The promotion ceremony was supposed to change everything. Captain to major. One of the biggest milestones of my career. Ryan insisted on inviting everyone. My wife finally gets her little promotion. Little. He actually said little. I pretended not to hear it. The ceremony took place inside a historic military auditorium. Flags lined the walls. Families filled every row. Uniforms everywhere. My commanding officers greeted guests. Ryan walked through the lobby like he owned the building. My mother followed him, wearing enough jewelry to blind.
Satellites.
She hugged everyone, ignored me, then loudly announced, I told Susan she should have married someone important. Ryan laughed. I saved her from becoming one of those lonely career officers. Several guests laughed. My commanding officer didn't. He looked at me. I simply shook my head. Please, not today. The ceremony began. One officer after another stepped forward. Families applauded. Photos flashed. Then, my name echoed across the auditorium. Captain Susan Simon. I stood, walked toward the stage. Ryan barely clapped. My mother checked her phone. The promotion orders were read. Standard ceremony. Standard applause. Then something unexpected happened. The master of ceremonies paused, looked toward the entrance. His expression changed. Every senior officer in the room immediately stood.
No announcement.
No warning. Just instant silence. Heavy boots echoed across polished marble. 1, 2, 3. Black uniforms. Pentagon credentials. No unit patches.
No.
Introductions. Even my commanding general straightened his posture. The lead officer quietly handed my commander a sealed envelope. He opened it. Read exactly one page. His eyes widened. Then he looked directly at me. Not at Ryan. Not at my family. Only me, Major Carter. His voice sounded completely different now. Your promotion ceremony has been amended. The room froze. Ryan whispered, What the hell did she do? Nobody answered him. Instead, the lead Pentagon officer stepped forward, raised his right hand, and saluted me. Every officer in the auditorium followed. Hundreds of hands. Perfect synchronization. My mother slowly stood, confused. Ryan stared at me, as though he'd never seen me before. Then the Pentagon officer said 7 words. Words that turned my husband's face completely white. Major Carter, your classified task force requires immediate activation. The entire auditorium went so silent. I could hear someone in the back accidentally drop a camera lens. Nobody moved. Nobody whispered. Nobody even seemed willing to breathe. The Pentagon officer held his salute until I returned it. Only then did he lower his hand. Major Carter, he said evenly, we need to leave in 12 minutes. Not tomorrow. Not after photographs. Not after the reception. 12 minutes. My commanding general gave a single nod. Understood. He turned toward the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, today's ceremony has officially concluded. A wave of confusion rolled through the room. People stood. Some reached for their phones. Others whispered behind folded programs. Ryan was the first to break the silence. What is this? He demanded loudly. She's my wife. Where are you taking her? The lead officer didn't even look at him. Instead, he handed me a small black envelope. No name.
No rank.
Just a silver Pentagon seal pressed into the flap. I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. 7 lines. 1 location. 1 time. 1 authorization code. At the bottom were 2 words. Omega clearance. I folded the paper without changing my expression. Ryan stepped closer. Emily. No answer. Emily talked to me. Still nothing. He reached for my arm. Before his fingers touched my sleeve, one of the Pentagon security officers stepped between us.
Do not interfere.
Ryan frowned. I wasn't interfering. That's my wife. The officer remained perfectly calm. Not at this moment. Ryan laughed nervously. What does that even mean? No one explained. Across the room, my mother finally recovered from her shock. She marched toward me, heels striking the marble floor like tiny explosions. This has gone far enough. She looked directly at the officers. My daughter doesn't need any more military games.
Games.
14 years of service. Reduced to games. She grabbed my wrist. You've embarrassed this family enough. Before I could respond, my commanding general spoke.
Mom.
She ignored him. I've spent years trying to convince her to leave this ridiculous career. The general's voice became noticeably colder. I strongly recommend that you release Major Carter.
She scoffed.
You don't tell me what to do with my daughter. The room became dangerously quiet. The general took one slow step forward. No.
Mom.
His eyes never left hers. But I can tell you what happens if you interfere with a federally activated officer. Her grip loosened instantly. She let go. For the first time in my life, my mother looked genuinely intimidated. Ryan tried a different approach.
Emily. His voice softened.
If this is about us. I finally looked at him. It isn't. You haven't even explained what's happening. I can't. You never can. His frustration boiled over. Do you have any idea what it's like being married to someone who disappears every few months and lies about where she goes?
Lie?
I had signed documents promising I never would. Some truths don't belong to one marriage. They belong to an entire nation. I never lied, I answered quietly. I simply wasn't allowed to tell you.
He shook his head.
Same thing. I almost corrected him, then decided it wasn't worth the effort. A young lieutenant hurried into the auditorium, carrying a secure military laptop. He stopped in front of the Pentagon officer.
Sir.
The briefing room is ready. The officer nodded, then looked at me. Major Carter. Yes, sir. We've identified a potential compromise. That sentence hit me harder than anything else that morning. A compromise. That word wasn't used casually. It meant classified information.
Personnel?
Or operations. Might have been exposed. Level? I asked. Unknown. Source? We're still confirming. He paused. But preliminary evidence points toward someone with direct access to your personal life. Ryan looked confused. So what? Somebody hacked her Facebook? Nobody laughed. The officer didn't even blink. This is not a joke. Ryan folded his arms. I wasn't joking. You should stop talking. The firmness in the officer's voice finally shut him up. My mother looked from one face to another. What exactly does Susan do? Silence.
She turned to me.
Emily? Nothing. You owe me an explanation. I met her eyes.
No.
Her face hardened. I'm your mother. And I'm a United States Army officer. Neither title outranked the other. But only one of them came with classified orders. She stepped backward as if I'd slapped her. I don't even know who you are anymore. I answered before I could stop myself. You never really tried. Those 7 words landed harder than shouting ever could. She looked away. For the first time, she had nothing to say. Outside, the low rumble of engines echoed through the building. Everyone instinctively turned toward the windows. 3 black SUVs rolled through the front gates.
No.
Markings. Escorted by military police. Ryan stared. Those are for you?
Yes.
His face lost even more color. As we walked toward the exit, one of my fellow officers quietly fell into step beside me.
Colonel Masson.
One of the few people who actually knew my real assignment. Without looking at me, he murmured, "The leak is worse than we thought." How bad? They searched your husband's company at 0600. I stopped walking.
What?
They're cooperating. Ryan had never mentioned investigators. Not once. Colonel Mason continued. They seized every company server. My heartbeat slowed instead of racing. Slow was dangerous. It meant I was thinking. Connecting pieces. Ryan's late-night phone calls. The sudden expensive vacations. The luxury SUV he claimed came from a bonus. The private consulting contracts. The mysterious overseas clients he refused to discuss. For nearly 2 years, I'd ignored every red flag. Because I trusted my husband. That mistake might have just endangered an entire operation. As we reached the doors, an Army criminal investigator stepped inside carrying another sealed folder. He walked directly toward Colonel Mason. Signed 1 receipt. Whispered 4 words. The colonel's expression changed instantly.
He looked at me.
Then at Ryan. Finally, he spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. Major Carter. We've confirmed the source. Ryan frowned. What source? The colonel didn't answer him.
He looked only at me.
The classified leak. Started inside your husband's company. Ryan's face went completely white.
Then,
an investigator behind him quietly said, "Mr. Carter, don't reach for your phone." Ryan froze. His hand stopped halfway to his pocket. The Army criminal investigator's voice remained calm. "Mr. Carter, slowly remove your hand. I was just grabbing my phone." "I know. And don't." The auditorium fell silent again. Every conversation ended. Every camera lowered. Even the children stopped fidgeting, sensing that something serious was unfolding. Ryan looked at me. "Emily, tell them this is ridiculous." I didn't answer. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I couldn't interfere with an active federal investigation. 2 investigators stepped beside him. One carefully removed his phone from his jacket. Another collected his smartwatch. Neither raised their voices. Neither treated him like a criminal. They treated him like someone who might possess evidence. My mother pushed through the crowd. "What are you doing to my son-in-law?" One investigator held up his credentials.
"Mom."
"Please remain behind the line." There is no line.
There is now.
A strip of yellow evidence tape stretched across the hallway. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. But it created a boundary my mother had never been forced to respect before. She turned to me, her face flushed with anger. "Say something." I met her eyes. "I can't." Her voice cracked. "You'd choose the Army over your own family?" I took a slow breath.
No.
I chose my oath. For the first time in years, I saw uncertainty replace certainty on her face. Underscore 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 underscore. Outside, the black SUVs waited with their engines running. Colonel Mason motioned for me to follow him into the lead vehicle. Instead, I stopped. "There are questions I need answered." He nodded.
"So ask them."
"When did this investigation begin?" 9 months ago. My stomach tightened. 9 months? We didn't know who was responsible. And Ryan? He wasn't our first suspect. That surprised me. What changed? Colonel Mason handed me a thin folder. Inside were copies of invoices, travel records, and payment authorizations. One page caught my attention immediately. Ryan's signature. Another page listed overseas meetings with executives from a private defense contractor. Meetings he had told me were golf weekends. Then I saw something that made my pulse slow. A reimbursement request. For a hotel. The same hotel where I had attended a classified conference undercover assignment.
Same week.
Same floor. Same building. That wasn't coincidence. Underscore 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 underscore. Inside the auditorium, investigators escorted Ryan to a private conference room. He wasn't handcuffed. He wasn't under arrest. Not yet. I watched through the glass. He buried his face in his hands. Then, for the first time since I'd met him, he looked frightened. Underscore 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 underscore. My mother cornered Colonel Mason. My daughter had no right to hide all this from us. The colonel answered without emotion. Actually, she had every legal obligation to. But we're family. He nodded once. National security doesn't recognize family exemptions. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Underscore 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 underscore. 30 minutes later, an investigator emerged from the interview room. He walked directly toward me. Major Carter. Yes, we've completed the preliminary interview. And he admits accepting consulting contracts. I waited. He claims he believed they were legitimate. Did he know classified information was involved? We don't know yet. That answer mattered. Intent mattered. Evidence mattered. Facts mattered. Not assumptions. Underscore 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 underscore. Then another investigator approached carrying a sealed evidence bag. Inside was Ryan's laptop. He looked at Colonel Mason. You should see this. They opened it inside the mobile command vehicle. For several minutes, nobody spoke. Finally, Colonel Mason looked up. Major, you need to read this. I sat down. The screen displayed hundreds of emails. Most were ordinary business correspondence. Then one draft appeared. Never sent. Never deleted. Addressed to Ryan's business partner. It read, Susan keeps disappearing for classified assignments. I don't know what she's doing, but I can usually figure out where she'll be from the travel notices she accidentally leaves at home. I closed my eyes. Travel notices. Not classified documents. Not operation plans. Just routine travel paperwork. Enough to establish patterns. Enough for someone else to connect the dots. Enough to put people at risk. Ryan hadn't sold secrets. He'd handed strangers puzzle pieces, without ever asking why they wanted them. Carelessness had nearly become catastrophe. Underscore 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 underscore. Weeks passed. The investigation continued. Federal prosecutors ultimately concluded there wasn't enough evidence to prove Ryan knowingly participated in espionage. But there was ample evidence of negligence. His security clearances were permanently revoked. Every government contract his company held was terminated. Within months, his business collapsed. Not because anyone sought revenge. Because trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild. Underscore 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 underscore. Our divorce was finalized 8 months later. There were no dramatic courtroom speeches.
No shouting.
No last-minute confessions. Just signatures. Silence. And 2 people walking in different directions. As I left the courthouse, Ryan spoke one final time. I never understood what your job really meant. I looked at him. I know. I thought you were hiding your life from me. I was protecting other people's lives. He lowered his head. I understand that now. I nodded. I wish you'd understood it sooner. Then I walked away. Underscore 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 underscore. My mother called several times after the investigation ended. At first, to argue. Later, to apologize. The first apology blamed everyone else. I didn't answer. The second admitted she'd spent years measuring my worth by things that had nothing to do with my character. That one. I answered. Healing isn't instant. It's earned. One conversation at a time. Underscore 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 underscore. Nearly a year after my promotion, I stood in another auditorium, another ceremony. Another row of flags. This time, I wasn't being promoted. I was receiving an award for leadership during a sensitive interagency operation. The citation didn't mention classified missions. It didn't mention investigations. It didn't mention everything that had happened. It simply recognized integrity. After the ceremony, a young lieutenant approached me.
Mom?
Yes, I heard your career wasn't easy. I smiled. It wasn't. Was it worth it? I looked at the American flag, hanging above the stage. Then back at her. The uniform isn't about being admired. It's about being worthy of the trust placed in you. She nodded thoughtfully. I hope I can live up to that. You won't do it perfectly. I smiled. But if you protect your integrity before your reputation, you'll never have to choose between them. She saluted. I returned it. And for the first time in a very long while, I walked out of a military ceremony with no secrets left weighing on my heart.